Welcome to the Asbestos Knowledge Empire.
What does asbestos management mean to you?
I used to really struggle with the asbestos management at my site, but now it's a breeze.
It used to be really expensive. I was paying loads, but now I've got my asbestos power team in place. It's so much easier.
Asbestos can be a pain in the arse if not handled right.
We had to stop the job because asbestos was discovered. Now we don't have that problem.
Asbestos management is easier than you think. Asbestos management. Be proactive, not reactive. Think about asbestos first, not last.
And now your hosts, best-selling authors and asbestos experts, Ian Stone and Neil Munro.
Welcome to the Asbestos Knowledge Empire. I'm Ian Stone.
I'm Neil Munro.
So today we've got a bit of a different angle. We're looking at health and safety. We've got John Crockett with us. Morning, John.
Morning, all.
How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad today. It's a bit better weather for us.
Yeah, it is. Do you want to give us a bit of introduction about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, by all means. My name's John Crockett. I've been working in the health and safety industry now for probably about 25, 30 years. And prior to that, I was project manager for various construction companies. And even prior to that, I was a fitter. I was an M&E fitter. So I've been working in the construction industry in general for about 45 years.
Wow. A bit of experience there then.
Yeah, a little bit there, yeah. I've seen a few things and probably done a few things I shouldn't have done as well, but I've learned over the years.
Yeah. Great. So today, we just want to have a chat just generally around health and safety. If it links into asbestos, great. If it doesn't, it's fine. It's kind of just the overall health and safety kind of point of view, really. So, you've got a bit of a different background to others. How did you get into health and safety?
Well, it was by accident, really. Not an accident. It was an accident. It was just accidental. I went to a christening at my cousin's, and my uncle used to run his own business from a construction point of view, and I was looking to try and get some more money, as you do as a youngster, try and improve your life.
Yeah.
And he basically told me that he could take me on and knock my wages up from £8 a week, which it was then, to £10 a day.
Nice.
Wow. So
£8 a week to a tenner a day?
Yeah.
Nice.
So, when you're 17, 18, that is a lot of money. And in them days, it was definitely a lot of money. So I moved on to the fitting side of it, and then I went into commissioning, then project management. And I was on a project working for a company on project management, and it came to an end. And I had the option of joining another department as the M&E project manager, or joining another department in the company as what was then called the planning supervisor under CDM.
Right.
And they said they would train me up doing CDM stuff and get me health and safety qualifications, amongst other things. Okay. So I jumped at the chance because I've always been interested in.
What attracted you to that at the time?
Well, what was being it is, yeah, but it's always fascinated me about investigations and things like that. I'm probably a bit of a crime buff. Yeah. So, I like to find out what's going on, why it's happened, and how we can maybe improve things, Right. So, and that's really how I got into it.
Yeah. And how long ago was that, did you say?
That was in 94, 95, I think it was. I started doing that.
So what would you kind of say was different between when you first got into it to today?
Attitude, I think. In the early days, it was, let's see what we can get away with, do it quickly and cheaply.
Yeah.
I think nowadays we're focused more on making sure people are okay.
Yeah.
It does need to come from the top, though.
Yeah. Do you think it's making a difference?
It is making a difference, but it can still be improved. It can still be done better. People would still need to be aware of their roles and responsibilities.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think clients are facing as issues today with health and safety?
Not being aware of things.
Yeah.
Lots of clients these days, especially the non-construction clients who have buildings built or extensions built to their factories, etc., they concentrate on their own business.
Yeah.
They're not sure about what they do on the construction side, so it's up to the likes of us to explain to them what their roles and responsibilities are. Sometimes they accept it and take it on board and understand that they have got some responsibility for it, but others, they say, well, what can we do to overcome it? So to overcome it, they need to employ external consultants. Otherwise, there will be problems for them.
Yeah. Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown and overview of CDM and the client responsibilities? Just kind of explain about what it is.
Yeah, by all means.
I think the people that are in the knowledge know, but it's the same with asbestos. There's a lot of people that don't think it's an issue or they're unaware of the rules and the regs. Yeah.
There was a big change in 2015, and there's still that is unknown to people, isn't it?
That's
still new.
It's still a new thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you're aware, but the regulations first came into force in 94 under an EU directive. Mm-hmm. We're still under an EU directive now. And that was changed in 2007.
Yeah.
And the original planning supervisor, which I was under the 94 regs, changed to CDM coordinator.
That was it, yeah.
And then that's now changed. But again, as a planning supervisor, we didn't plan or supervisor. As a CDM coordinator, we didn't coordinate anything. We were there as just a body to look at various parts of the process and comment. We never had any real power as a CDMC.
Right.
Nowadays, that CDMC is gone, and in its partial replacement is a principal designer.
Yeah.
But the client has got much, much more responsibility on the CDM now if he's a commercial client. And I think it's that responsibility that clients are not aware of. And it's actually a designer's duty under Regulation 9.1 to inform the clients of their responsibilities. And they shouldn't accept the role unless they're satisfied that the client understands what he should and shouldn't be doing. The client's got a lot more responsibility now. He's got to understand that.
I think you're right. I mean, that's kind of the main takeaway for me. Over the years, we've kind of ticked the boxes, so to speak, and we've done the right things, but the client was never really made aware of their full responsibilities before. And now it's kind of completely explicit, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Under the previous regs, it was basically the client was the money man. All he did was make sure the job was done within his budget.
Yeah.
Now he's got a lot more. He's got to appoint people, or else he becomes a duty holder. Yeah. He's got to make sure that certain things are in place. He's got to manage it properly. He's got to ensure the job's being done from a health and safety point of view as well.
What do you think you had that kind of bit of a shift towards the client?
I think the main thing was to make them more aware of what they should be doing, instead of backing it to somebody else.
Yeah.
It was, you have got a responsibility for this project, so let's make sure that it's done.
Yeah.
And if you don't get it done, then we'll make you responsible for it.
And that's in the same respect as like the asbestos regs with the named duty holder of you can't shirk your duties.
No.
You're still the named duty holder. It all falls at your door. That's it. You can't get away from that. I suppose that's kind of...
He can employ a consultant to assist him.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he can't dodge the duty holder responsibility.
Responsibilities.
No, but he can get assistance where necessary. Now, the other duty holders within the regs, I've already mentioned the client, the designer and the principal designer, but you've got two more. One is the principal contractor, and he's employed on projects where there's two or more contractors.
Yeah.
So if there's two contractors, one of them has to become the principal contractor. And again, it's back to the client again to appoint the principal contractor in writing, not just, oh, you're my main contractor. Okay. You've got to appoint it in writing. If he doesn't appoint him in writing, the client accepts the duty holder role by default.
Right, okay.
And it's funny, when you think about that, two or more contractors, well, that's poxy jobs. That's literally
anything.
Kind of pretty much any job.
If you're having a kitchen fitted, for instance, just domestic, and you've got two contractors, one's the plasterer and one's the electrician, and you've also maybe got a plumber, the tiler.
Yeah.
There's 4 or 5 contractors there.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You've got gas, electric, everything. Straight away, you're going to be doing the smallest project in the world to kind of not be under the regs.
Yeah. Any construction project falls within the CDM regulations, even if it's changing a washer or fitting a satellite dish.
And I think a lot of people don't appreciate that, do they?
No. Okay, if you're a domestic client, the duty holder role as a client falls away from you under Regulation 7. It then gives whoever you appoint the duty holder roles of a client.
Yeah.
So if you're applying a contractor or an architect, he would then take on the roles responsible the client would normally do. Now, if it's an architect, for instance, he might do a design for an extension, but the job might not start for a year, so his duty then falls away. And then the contractor comes on board, he takes on the client duties. He may need to make notifications, the F10 notifications, etc., on behalf of the client. If he's going to employ a contractor to do his groundworks or do his bricklaying or whatever, then he becomes the principal contractor and the other one is a normal contractor. So there's a lot of things that within the regulations that it's not just commercial clients, it's domestic clients' responsibilities as well to pass on things.
Do you think it's getting better? Do you think people are taking more note and complying more? Do you think it's on the increase or...?
It's getting better. It's still not good.
No.
Yeah. There's lots of clients who are not aware of what they should or shouldn't be doing. Yeah. I go around doing presentations and refresher courses for CDM 2015, and even architects I go to now and design practice I go to now, they're still surprised at some of the things I tell them.
Yeah.
They're not totally aware of what they should be doing under the regulations. They're basically, designers' duties haven't changed much from the 2007 regs to 2015, but if they didn't do it then, they're not doing it now. And they've got to make sure that they do take on those responsibilities, making sure they're aware of any hazards or risks that they're designing into projects and how they're going to either control or eliminate them. And that should be recorded and passed on to the contractors so they are aware and they can price properly how to run the project.
What's the common thing that clients ask you about health and safety? Is there like a number one thing that you always get asked, or is there a running theme in there? Or
They don't normally contact you unless there's something happened.
okay,
Yeah.
so the shit's in the fan.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Not
Yeah.
proactive.
Yeah, they don't look at it up front and say, well, this may happen or may not happen. There's either been an incident, an accident, a near miss, and then they bring an external consultant in like ourselves to say, look, this has happened, what can we do about it? Or they may have had a visit from the HSE and got an improvement or prohibition notice. How do we overcome it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all that type of thing. We normally get involved at that stage with clients who are not proactive.
Does that turn out to be generally more expensive as well?
But definitely more expensive for the client, yeah. Because if he'd employed us in the first place or understood the roles and regulations, then he'd have taken the right lead in doing what he needs to do.
Yeah.
But if they do it later, obviously you've got to pay for our investigations or costs for doing the remedial work, etc.
Yeah.
And also it may have cost him time or bad reputation by being prohibition notices, etc.
You can't put a price on that.
No, that's it, yeah. And all of the things that the HSE do, they all go onto a list on the web. You can't hide it. You know, if you want to look up about a company, what they've done from a prohibition or been charged or in a court case, it's all on the website. You can look at any of them.
Yeah.
So is that the number one thing that clients need to know? I was going to ask you that as a question. Now I'm saying it's more of a leading one. Is that the number one thing that they should know of?
Get involved first.
Yeah,
I think what they should do, all health and safety starts from the top of the tree.
Yeah.
Starts from the business owners, the directors and the management team. It should be in their health and safety policy who is responsible for it. Now, if that person is not totally au fait with the type of regulations or the need for doing it, then they should employ either an internal person to do the work or an external consultant to do it for them.
Yeah.
I think in the main they'll probably employ an external consultant because you only need them when you need them. They can give you advice on the overall way of running the company, and then they can do other things for you ad hoc.
Yeah.
And it's going to be cheaper than employing someone full time.
Yeah, full time, because that's quite a big overhead. And I suppose it's not a day-to-day thing that you need.
It's not. Once you've got your policies and procedures and plans in place, as long as someone follows them, then you shouldn't have a problem.
Yeah. I suppose, it's getting everything, kind of looking at what you do as a business, squaring everything off from a health and safety point of view, getting risk assessments in place, things like that, because a lot of that doesn't change unless something changes in the process.
Exactly, yeah.
It is just kind of a case of making sure people are following that process and following what's been assessed.
One of the things that clients don't do, you mentioned risk assessments there, is they don't review them often enough. What they should do is review them at least annually. If there's a change in legislation, might need to review it to change the process. Yeah. Or if there's an incident or accident, how we could improve that particular activity by reviewing the risk assessment.
Okay, yeah. I suppose you also need to review it, like I say, you do change the process or you change equipment or things like that.
Technology changes all the time.
Yeah.
So we're going to get improvements. And I think that's one of the things that your risk assessment should address, the type of equipment you're using and how it's going to make it safer for your operatives to work with it.
Yeah. So, kind of moving away from that, what's kind of the best thing or the worst thing you've seen with health and safety?
Well,
start with the worst.
Well, the worst thing is...
Naming no names.
No, it's the worst thing. I was involved in the building of Terminal 4 at Heathrow many, many years ago, in the 80s. And I was in our site cabins and I heard an explosion.
Wow.
And
that's never good.
I ran outside and there was a fella laying on the floor there and most of his clothes had been blown off.
Jeez.
Luckily, there is a fire station on Heathrow itself.
Right.
Yeah.
So they were there within probably a minute and a half because they'd heard the explosion. No one called them, they heard the explosion. And they come flying across the airport to see, what was going on. We also eventually had the Middlesex and Surrey fire brigades there to try and help the fella. Ambulance turned up. While the ambulance was waiting, the fire service put a silver blanket around him because obviously his clothes was all blown off and his skin wasn't too good either. It was quite red and raw.
Yeah.
And they just spent time putting hose pipes on to try and cool him down. The fellow went to hospital. Fortunately, 3 days later, he died.
Wow.
But you got to look at the reason that it actually happened. And the reason it happened was he was there cutting old drums in half with a saw, electric saw.
Yeah.
And what he was supposed to do, or what the other lads were doing were, they'd taken the top off, the lids, vented them,
Yeah.
and then cut them.
Yeah.
Right.
What he didn't do, he didn't take the top off. It hadn't been vented.
Right.
So,
Fumes
so there were still fumes in there. And as he was cutting through, a spark hit the fume, blew the drum apart, and blew him as well.
What a ridiculous thing to kind of die over from such a simple thing of not doing it.
Yeah,
it's having that outcome. That's
and it was a terrible sight to see.
yeah.
I hope I never see anything like that again.
No.
Yeah.
As I say, it was in the 90s. Sorry, the 80s. In 1983, 84 it was. It happened. So it was quite a while ago.
Yeah, but there was a procedure in place.
There was a
to
procedure,
eliminate
yeah.
that risk.
Yeah. They'd been doing it for several weeks because what they did, they set the drums along the line of the taxiways.
Yeah.
Because we're separating from the main airport to the new build. They were setting drums out in line, putting concrete in them to actually keep them stable.
Yeah.
They cut them in half, so they got two out of one drum as such.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the first time he'd probably cut one, but on that occasion it was a bad one.
Yeah.
Going back to the good things,
Yes.
probably very, very simple, but probably one of the best things I've ever seen is in the welfare toilets on the site. They've normally got mirrors because most lads like to look nice when they're working. So they've got mirrors in there, and on the mirror, it was written on the mirror, you are looking at the person responsible for your safety. And I think that's very important that we all take responsibility for our own safety as well.
Yeah, that is very true.
So that simple message, it makes them aware it's down to them to make themselves safe.
Yeah.
It's not down to anybody else. You have the ultimate control over your safety.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you think something's not quite right, talk about it. Tell somebody. Don't think, well, okay, my boss has told me to do it, I better do it, because he could be wrong.
Yeah.
So make sure you're happy with what you're doing.
Yeah.
No, that's a very important lesson.
It is. I've recently watched Chernobyl.
Oh yeah, I've
series
seen that.
on
I've seen that.
Sky.
Yeah.
And do you know what? That's exactly it, because the guys just cracked on, even
knew.
though they knew,
Yeah.
but they didn't question it enough, and they didn't.
Well, I think
kind
they
of-
were scared for their own lives.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different,
era.
it's a different type of kind of thing
Different-
than what we face
it's
today.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different political atmosphere.
Yeah, it's exactly that. But it's the same principle, isn't it? It's if
Yeah.
you can't question it, because well, you've just got to. If you're not unsure, you've got to.
Well, when I do my site inspections, I always say to the lads, if you're not happy with something, tell somebody.
Yeah.
If you think that there's a barrier not quite right or there's a risk of falling somewhere, don't do it. Tell your foreman, your supervisor, or whoever, let's try and get it sorted out, because that could be you going home in the boxer that night.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Do you think we have got a good culture for questioning and highlighting hazards and stuff? And do you think there's a difference between the big sort of construction sites coming down to the smaller ones? Is there a bit of a gap?
I work for a couple of the big construction
Yes.
companies, major ones. Yeah. They are very good at
Drumming it in.
putting procedures in place, making sure you're following them, and also penalising you if you don't follow them.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is probably the worst thing to do. If you don't follow the procedure, you're not only affecting yourself, you could be affecting somebody else as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Like just simple things like moving the fire extinguisher to hold the door open.
Yes.
It's not in its correct position. When you go to find it, it's not there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the smaller companies, as you go further down the list and you get the companies who employ 3 or 4 people, they tend to, it's the lads as well who tend to not follow procedures or think, well, I've done this 100 times before and never got hurt previously, so I'll be all right now.
Yeah.
But you only need one time. That could affect not only your career, it could affect your family and your life.
Yeah, definitely. We all need to go home safely, don't
Exactly, yeah.
we? Yeah. Do you think that's a financial sort of influence over there? So, you're more likely to cut corners to get the job done quicker, get it done a bit cheaper.
It's definitely part of the process of thinking, but what they've got to think about is that it might be cheaper to do it a slightly different way,
Yeah,
but the cost of losing that person,
definitely.
paying his sick pay, replacing him, program implications, employing new people if he's not employed anymore, all that costs much, much more than putting a barrier in place.
Yes.
Yeah. So you've got to think of all that type of thing as well. It's not just the actual incident, it's the process. And you could go nationally, like hospital costs.
Yeah.
All that type of thing. It costs, and you're paying for that in your taxes and everything. Yeah. So you're paying for it eventually.
Yeah.
So you've got to think about everything that is associated with that accident or incident.
It's not just that very short-term game of saving a couple of £100.
No.
Because if it goes pear-shaped, well, the cost, like you say, it's insurmountable. You can't even cost that out of it going wrong.
No.
Definitely.
Yeah. So normally we kind of get to the end of an interview and we say, what does asbestos management mean to you? But today we'll ask you, what does health and safety management mean to you?
Well, I think it means that You've got to look at many things from, you've got to manage, monitor and control. And as I said before, it starts from the top of the tree.
Yeah.
It's not just you as an individual, although you are a big part of it. It's making sure that people are aware of their roles and responsibilities, making sure that people give the information properly, making sure that they understand their risk assessments, meta statements, making sure that people challenge things. So it's all part of the management, making sure that they're aware of the regulations, making sure that clients employ somebody under the management regs. Regulation 7 says that they've got to have competent assistance in their health and safety. Again, that could be internal or external. So I think it's not just a thing that is management of health and safety. It's a multitude of activities by a lot of people, and that's how you would control it. It's very difficult to point your finger at one particular thing that says, right, that's how it should be done. It's everyone's involvement.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant stuff.
Yeah. So if anyone's kind of looking for some help, some assistance with not health and safety or CDM, where can they kind of get in touch with you, John?
Well, they can get in touch through our website, or they can contact the office.
Yep, so that's acornhealthandsafety.co.uk.
That's right, yeah.
Excellent.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, John. Normally we say asbestos first, not last. Today it's health and safety first, not last.